Hello everyone, Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for The Power Company Recharge #1. This is a new book from DC Comics. This is written by Brian Edward Hill with art by Kerry Randolph, Aletha Martinez, Norm Rapman, Ray Anthony Height, and Studio Sky Tiger, with colors by Emilio Lopez and Alex Gomares, and letters by N-World Design, with a really cool cover by Edwin Galmon. So, this is a new series, a new super team debuts, spinning out of the events of Black Lightning and DC Power, Rise of the Power Company. Josiah Power and Jefferson Pierce lead the newest iteration of the Power Company with a new purpose of rebuilding humanity's faith in heroes and fighting back against the rising anti-metahuman movement. For their first mission, the company dispatches Jace Fox, Batman, The Signal, and Vixen to investigate a serial killer that's been hunting metas in the streets of Atlanta, Georgia. Batman and the Outsiders writer Brian Edward Hill makes his return to DC alongside with so many talented artists for this oversized special issue that revitalizes the titular street level team for a new generation. So, as you could probably tell from looking at the cover or just the characters that I named, this is a group of Black superheroes, and I think it's great. I've really enjoyed what Brian Edward Hill has done in the past with some of these characters, specifically with the stuff that he was doing with the Outsiders. So I'm excited. I was excited to read this, and this book is a lot of fun. I think it's really interesting to have you have Batman and Signal back together, but it's different, right? It's Jace Fox now. It's not Bruce Wayne, obviously, who was the original Batman that brought Signal into the mix. It's also really cool to see Duke back because he's a character that I really enjoyed during Scott Snyder's run on Batman, and I can't believe how long we've had that character around, and it's kind of a shame that we don't see him as much. And it's always good to see some of the other characters, but those are the ones that really stand out to me, and they are the ones that kind of propel this story, right? Batman is the one that it's really fun to see how different Jace is than Bruce at being Batman, but also how similar they are in the ways that they want to work alone. They don't really work well as part of a team, but they also understand that sometimes the greater good calls for it. And then as far as the art, it's great. I don't know why we have so many artists, probably just because we have so many things. Like, this book is truly oversized. It's about 48 pages. So that was definitely probably quite the endeavor. But they all have very similar styles tonally, so I didn't feel like a big disconnect. If you watch my review for Detective Comics, you realize that I talked about artists. Each one did one of the chapters in that story, so I really like when artists are more organized. But I feel like thematically it works. Maybe and I'm not familiar with all the artists, so maybe some of them had been working on some of the characters that are being brought into this book, so they wanted to kind of put their own little flair, their own twist into this new series. But either way, the story really works. It's a fun mystery. It's got a lot of action. It's got a lot of conflict, just interpersonal conflict between the team, because of course, like I said, Batman, no matter whether it's Jace or Bruce, they don't play well with others, or especially not at the beginning. And then I think the concept of the Power Company, it's also really fun. Like, having to fight both. It's a war on two fronts, right? You have to fight the fight against crime, but also this public opinion that, after the events of Absolute Power, have really tainted the reputation of metahumans. Also, metahumans are being hunted, and that's definitely a problem for this team. So, yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes from here. But I really enjoyed the first issue, and I highly, highly recommend it. These are not heroes that you get to see all the time. So I'm very glad that they're back on the pages of DC on their own series. I need to go catch up on the Black Lightning series though, because I think that's gonna be that's probably something that is very, very interesting. Because I like Brian Edward Hill as a writer, so I need to catch up on that stuff as well. So if you've been reading that, or if you read this issue, let me know what you thought about it down in the comments. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Detective Comics Annual #1 for 2025. This is the 5th week of the month if you're watching this. And of course, within those weeks, we had to put in some fillers, and we have some annuals. Now, in this story, Batman Do Not Solve My Murder, we have a story by Al Ewing, with art by Stefano Raphael, John McCrae, and Fico Ossio on art, Lee Lowridge, Joanna Farrell, and Ulysses Areola on colors, letters by Tom Napolitano, and a main cover by Mikel Janin. So, there seems to be a little bit of a mix-up with the comic that I received, which is for my preview, does not match the synopsis that is given in the previews. So I don't know what happened. Maybe the synopsis just was never updated, because the synopsis says Tom Taylor writing it, but this is clearly a book by Al Ewing. So I'm going to try to give you a brief summary of the book without spoiling anything. In this book, Batman must put on his detective and his scientist hat to try to solve a murder that he has been asked not to solve, because it could destroy the universe. That's all I'll say. This is a really interesting book. So if you notice, there are three groups of artists, three artists and three colorists. That is because this is broken up into three different chapters. As you know, annuals are oversized, so they're usually about 40 pages or so. And this is just a really fun detective story, which is injected with Al Ewing's weird type of storytelling that can get really cosmic and really just, I would say, it really would test the limits of what we think could really happen and things that could be solved by Batman. So it's very, very interesting. Batman has to go to somewhere in the UK. I don't remember exactly where, the name of the towns. I think York. I think he went to York. So not, the original York as opposed to New York, which is interesting, right? It's just a fun parallel because Gotham is kind of based on New York. But yeah, it's Batman has to go recruit some help from a scientist and some other people as he tries not to solve this murder that he's been asked not to solve because it could end the universe, which is a really interesting concept. But this is great. I really love the art. I really appreciate that each artist really made their own chapter feel very different, but it helped the pace of the story because it really divided things into, like, Batman is gathering clues, Batman is solving stuff, Batman is out. There's a little bit of action because there's always going to be a little bit of action with Batman. There's a few elements of what I would call quantum comic physics, which are not they're not as real as quantum physics, but they're definitely based on that principle in real life. And of course, having to see Batman try to solve things with his detective hat on, I think is the coolest thing. But I love that even when he goes to, he goes to a different country, he has to help out the people locally there. He fights some very strange creatures. There's some really interesting concepts. If you've ever wanted to see Batman fight an angel, this is the issue for you. So yeah, I mean, Al Ewing is just he's such a fun writer because he comes up with these like really out there concepts that may not be for everyone, but when they work, they work. And this one really worked for me. And then, like I said, the group of artists that this story was paired with was perfect. Each one felt like it should. And I really appreciate when the use of multiple artists has an actual purpose, right? As opposed to just kind of fill in some pages or whatever the case may be. So I'm wondering if the reason we have three artists is because there was some issue with that original story that was planned in the Tom Taylor story that was planned in the previews. Very interesting stuff. I don't know. Maybe we'll someday hear the story of what happened. But in the meanwhile, enjoy this comic because it was really, really good. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Godzilla vs. Spider-Man #1. This is the third installment in this Godzilla vs. Marvel a series of one-shots they've been doing. In this one, we have writer Joe Kelly with art by Nick Bradshaw, Rachel Rosenberg on colors, letters by Joe Caramagna. This book, fresh from the original Secret Wars, Peter Parker, aka the Amazing Spider-Man, returns to Earth with a spiffy new alien costume without a care in the world except for a complicated love triangle with MJ and Black Cat. And of course, the unbelievable pressure at the Daily Bugle, Rent, Bills, Supervillains, Classic Spider-Man Problems. Oh, and Godzilla is now in New York City, with its destructive power aimed squarely at the wall crawler. Do not miss out on two of the most popular characters in pop culture, absolutely going at it in a kaiju-sized slugfest for the ages. Man, so I'll start with the things that I enjoyed about this issue because, unfortunately, I think these Godzilla versus have been a little bit underwhelming overall. Like the promise of Godzilla versus the Marvel Universe seemed really cool, um, but the problem to me is that we're not getting a lot of Godzilla versus these heroes. It's like we get this is probably the one that we have the most Godzilla fighting an actual superhero, where it's not really fighting, right? It's just Godzilla. It's just Godzilla chasing Spider-Man throughout New York, and it's really all kind of ultimately um, to end up putting the symbiote on Godzilla, which it is a cool concept. I do like that. Um, it's funny how they kind of retcon bringing Null back into the whole thing. It's just there's a lot of interesting ideas here in this book, but I don't think that we can explore everything how we should, because of everything is just so fast happening so fast in this one shot. 32 pages is only so much time to tell a story. What I will say, and maybe what I should have started with, Nick Bradshaw's art is fantastic. Like every single panel of this feels like you're picking this up right after Secret Wars. The character designs, even the Godzilla design is pretty cool. So all the sequences look great. It's really the story to me that was kind of the weaker spot. Um, it felt to me like, how do we put? They should have just done Venom versus Godzilla if they just wanted to put the symbiote suit on Godzilla. So it's kind of frustrating, unfortunately. But I'll keep checking this out. There's 6 of them total. We are 3 into them, and overall, I mean, they're entertaining, but they are a little bit underwhelming, unfortunately. But not everything's for everybody. So if you're reading these and you enjoyed it, I'm glad. Let me know down in the comments. If also just let me know, what you thought about them. If you didn't fully enjoy it or if you had some issues like myself, I'll keep checking these out. So stay tuned on the channel for these. But as always, thank you for watching. Hello everyone, Dan here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Ultimate Spider-Man 16. This is a new book from the Ultimate line and Marvel Comics, written by Jonathan Hickman, with art by Marco Cicchetto, colors by Matthew Wilson, and letters by Corey Petit. In this issue, we have the secret origin of Mysterio. Even Kingpin knows very little about the criminal in the smoky helmet, but Spider-Man's about to learn more than he bargained for. This issue was so freaking good. I'll try not to put too many spoilery things in the preview art, because let's talk about the art first. Marco Cicchetto, he just has such a great handle on these characters and how to present them, how to make sure that everything stands out in this book, and how to make things just look super cool. But what Jonathan Hickman's doing with the story is like, he leads you down this path, and just like Mysterio would, reveals that maybe everything that you're seeing is not what it's meant to be. So it's really fun. It's really cool to kind of go back and revisit some of the elements from the run so far and through a different lens. No pun intended for the Mysterio helmet, and just the twist on the mythology of some of these characters, right? All that being put in the pages with Marco Cicchetto's beautiful art, these vibrant colors. Whenever you have Mysterio on the page, there's a lot of pomp and circumstance that comes with that, and then of course revisiting and re-examining the relationships of some of these characters, the lens that we've been seeing them through. It's great. It really took me by surprise, and it took me on a great roller coaster ride. I really, really enjoyed. Like I said, we stopped by so many different spots in the story so far, and then as the story kind of bookends to kind of close out and move forward, we are just, it's such a treat to read a book that is so well done as this one. I think Spider-Man is having a bit of a revitalization, especially the Ultimate Spider-Man. This book is so darn good, as well as most of the like. I'm really enjoying the Ultimate line, and they're really going above and beyond my expectations. And I hope that it stays this way because I need comics to be like this. I need comics to be this good for a long, long time. So, if you're reading this book, let me know what you thought about this issue down in the comments. Hello, everyone. Daniel here from the Next Issue Podcast. On today's video, I'll be doing a review for Fantastic Four number 31. This is a new book from Marvel Comics. This is the Fantastic 2 issue, written by Ryan North with art by Corey Smith, inks by Oren Jr., colors by Jesus Avertov, and letters by Joe Caramagna. Really cool cover by Joshua Cassara and Dean White. In this issue, the Fantastic 2, as Ben recovers from what Doom has done to him and the events of what happened to him in the latest issue as well, the Fantastic Four learn that they're losing their powers as the one time they need them to be most desperately. If they can't reverse this effect, they may be lost forever, and Doom will be unstoppable. The family has an idea of how to get them back, and to do it safely, they need to recreate the circumstances that first gave them their powers. But when safety doesn't get them results, there is a more desperate path available to the four, and they take it. And it all comes down to this: a young woman, her kid brother, the man she loves, and his only friend, a desperate launch into space. This issue was pretty sick. I love that we are revisiting the core origin of what makes the Fantastic Four who they are. But now it's also through this lens of this world of we're living under the rule of Doom. We get some really fun action to start of the episode or to start of the issue, but also seeing these guys lose their powers little by little. And I don't know if is it connected to Ben losing his powers? Is that the key? They kind of talk about, I guess all their powers are kind of interconnected because they all happened during the same cosmic accident. I love the scenes of them just sitting down as a family to discuss, and not just them, the kids. Like, Ben has his two adopted kids, and then of course you have Richard and Valeria, or Franklin and Valeria, and Alicia is there as well because they are now a bigger family, and they discuss these issues, and I just love that. I just love that stuff. I love the idea of revisiting and trying over and over to recreate the accident. Very similar to if you've ever read Flashpoint, how the Flash kind of had to regain his powers, and just I love revisiting origin stories. I think that's what really makes this very interesting, very fun, because from there you can kind of twist things around, and that's what this book does. Unlike some of the other Doom tie-ins, this one has it's a complete story and a complete thought on this issue, but it's also leaving the door open for something else to come, and maybe the Fantastic Four have messed up a little bit more than they really thought. Corey Smith's art just really works. It looks like a very classic comic book style, but that's what the story needs. This story needs to feel like just classic good old comic books from the Marvel style, right out of the Marvel bullpen, to recapture the essence of seeing the first family of comics in the pages of these books. The cover itself is it's very interesting, but I think thematically it really fits. So I mean, I'm sure you're seeing it in the video here. I won't go too much into that because I don't want to spoil the full book. But yeah, there's some really fun stuff in this one, and I'm really loving that you can kind of start reading these One World Under Doom tie-ins on their own without even having, like, Ryan North's been doing such a good job at making sure that you can kind of jump into this run almost at any point. Like every time there's an event change or a new arc, there's such good jumping on points. There's some issues that just kind of work out all on their own. So yeah, this is really, really fun stuff. I'm a little sad that we did not get an Alex Ross cover. He had been doing some of these covers, but we're getting some really fun ones, including like a Disney Fantastic Four, what if the Mickey and friends became the Fantastic Four. So a lot of really cool variant covers. So let me know which one you picked up. Let me know what you think of this series and this book. Let's talk about the show. Let's talk about we're going to do a comic review. We're gonna talk about giant size wacky races, not racers, races. Number one, this is a one shot from Dynamite. This is written by, let me see here, written by Ivan Cohen with art by Mariano Benitez, chapel colors by Nick Capone, letters by Jeff Eckleberry, who Eckleberry I think letters a lot of Dynamite stuff. And in this book, oh here, let me see if I can make this fit a little better. This book obviously based on the animated TV show from, it only aired for 2 years, which is interesting, from 1968 to 1970 on CBS, which was inspired by the comedy The Great Race. The synopsis for this book is pretty long because they are telling you what Wacky Razors is first. They're telling you all about the creative team, like all their, like why you should care about them. But the main thing is this is a 40-page story. Thrill to all new adventures of Penelope Pitstop. This giant says one shot features three chapters that take you on a high octane adventure from writer Ivan Cohen. With a tough and beautiful Penelope, handsome and mysterious Peter Perfect, and of course, Dick Dastardly and a new look at Muttley. So let me show you guys some covers before we get into this. There are some pretty cool things. I mean, I feel like I guess I'll start because I feel like I need to say this. I wish this book had been about Dick Dastardly and Muttley. Because they are the only characters I remember from Wacky Razors. I don't know who Penelope is. I saw the caveman in one of the little panels, but other than that, I don't know who Peter Perfect is either. Like, I wish
this is the biggest "who is this for" question I had over my head while flipping. I started reading it, and then as I got about halfway through, a little past halfway through, I was just like, I'm flipping the rest of the way, because for a book called Wacky Racers, it's not super wacky. And I don't remember a lot of watching wacky races. Yeah. So I went back and pulled some up on YouTube because I was just like, well, what's, maybe if I jog my memory on what the cartoon is, and they're obviously very, very different. And that's when I started thinking of like, well, this is obviously the cartoon. You go back and watch the cartoon, it's obviously based on these old cross-country races that used to America used to be all about these things, these weird cars that would just make these cross-country races and about stuff. And I'm like, we don't do that anymore. They've kind of sort of tried to modernize it. They tried to turn it into this weird, they focus on Penelope Pitstop, who is sort of like a Hannah Montana kind of character. And they give everybody it's like weird dark reboot of Wacky Races. And I'm just like, why? Nobody even knows who these characters are anymore. Yeah. And I guess I'm like, I understand why you could get away with being like, we're giving this kind of like complete new backstory that's kind of grounded in reality, I guess, sort of, but they're not built like that. I don't know. I didn't get it. No, I appreciate the hard effort and work they put into it, though.
Yeah, Clay, what did you think of the book?
I just started to flip through it. I thought the art was nice, but then it just seemed to be a Penelope Pitstop book and not really a Racers book. So I kind of just started to flip through it at that point and was just, because it seemed really long, and I was like, oh, okay, so it's a one shot, so it's giving you a lot of content, but it just was like, there's a race at the beginning and a race at the end. And like, to me, the wacky,
the smallest part of a race too. It's like a 2-3 pages of a race. And I'm like, you have 40 pages here. As much as I want to like the main character, like let me instead watch a full 5-6 pages of a race and don't spend 3-4 pages in a hospital or like whatever, or telling me how ad revenue works on YouTube.
It's not really. Oh gosh, I hate bashing on things, but like too. It never goes in any. Again, it never goes in. It could have been very tongue-in-cheek satire. Yeah, and I know you can do that because DC did it with like the Flintstones and Snaggletooth or Snagglepuss, and so they rebooted those characters. They're completely different, and it's tongue in cheek still, but it's it's also like they do get into like some of the like with the Flintstones, some of the stuff like it's about post-traumatic war stuff and things like that, but it's still very, it's not lighthearted, but it's still, I don't know. This thing doesn't, they don't have fun with it at all. Like there's no.
Yeah, it should definitely be fun above all, and I didn't get the vibe, so that I just started flipping through it because I was like, well, the art's nice, but like I didn't want to commit to reading about like Penelope Pitstop, because to me this book seems like a perfect Gen X reboot. Like we would be the kids who saw it as growing up, which I remember seeing this as a kid. You update it the way Adult Swim updated Space Ghost. Like you give it that kind of like cynical, edgy humor, and you still make it a racer's book. Like that's what I feel like that book should have been. I don't know what this is. I just
it could have been
I wouldn't buy it.
A little Talladega Nights, where like the razors are
exactly
wacky in a different way, or like I said, or just make it more about Dick Dastardly, like going through all this, or even show me how the cool car gets put together. The cool car gets blown up in at the beginning, and then we don't ever see it again until the end again. And then like I also think it's really, I think there's a panel where Peter like chooses to sponsor Penelope, but not really sponsor, but sends her money, and it's only like $5,000. I'm like, what is that it? Like, is that all? That doesn't feel like a lot.
You just spent 3 pages telling me how expensive everything was going to be, and it's like here's $5,000.
And then it goes in a direction at the end. I'm not going to spoil the end, but like where it's not even about the like Peter Perfect's goal is not even about the races, and then it was like, is there more to this? And then I realized that it's a one shot, and I was like, oh, I guess it's not. I guess that's it. So
it feels like if we sell enough, then maybe we can flip it into a series or a mini or something like that. But I just don't. It didn't hook me. It doesn't. Yeah. There's nothing.
And see, they had tried to reboot it 10 years ago. I looked this up, and there was a Future Quest run of DC books where they did the Flintstones book back then. There was a Wacky Raceland book that was a post-apocalyptic take on the Wacky Racers cartoon. But the cool part of it is that the vehicle designs were from the guy who did the vehicle designs for Mad Max Fury Road. So cool. Take this and those vehicles and look, what if they were redesigned by a post-apocalyptic designer, and you had that reboot, which seems way more interesting than this.
Yeah, and I although I think the art's pretty good here, I don't know that it fits the tone that I would have wanted for a book like this. Like, get somebody that does very stylized art, or like something that looks a little bit different, or somebody that can really make it look like the cartoons if that's what you want to do. But I don't think
definitely
they just got somebody that has a very good comic book house style that makes it look a little bit more like a superhero book, even though there's really no superhero shenanigans happening.
Yeah, just to recommend a different book that has like a lot of cars in it, Death and Glory by Rick Remender and Bingle.
Yeah.
Bingle does incredible car work and should definitely be at the top of anyone's list who's doing a car type book. I would love to see Bingle's work on something like this with a little redesign on the cars.
And Glory is a very well-rounded character that you can kind of get behind real quickly. Whereas Penelope, I felt like I was struggling to understand what she was trying to do, or like what her goal was, other than to become a racer, but she's got to take this side quest to fully become a racer.
I was also like, why is a former child star turned internet sensation having a hard time raising money for like? Yeah. There was a lot that I just was like.
I mean, isn't that Frankie Muniz? I mean, former child star who turned into a racing. Doesn't he race cars?
Oh, I don't know.
Maybe. I wonder if maybe that. I mean, maybe this is based on more realistic stuff than
we thought.
Maybe who's writing this? Maybe that's Frankie Muniz's pen name.
Maybe. All right. Well, to close this out, Jeff did find us a really wacky video. I think we'll see. I hope this is
let's take
not.
a look.
I hope this isn't a letdown, Jeff.
I feel like this encapsulates Wacky Races a little bit better than the comic.
All right, let's check it out. Let's check it out.
This is a car commercial I found.
Oh yeah, there was this guy. Oh, there's the guy from the book. That's Penelope. Not
Novo Peugeot 208. Dentro dele é outro mundo. Peugeot.
That was
There it is.
Oh, wow, that was cool.
That was I think that was Portuguese.
Oh yeah,
Was it?
Yeah, I think so. It sounded like Portuguese.
it's probably some car that cost $7,000.
Who knew
That was
Wacky
fun.
Racers were big overseas?
Yeah.
Who
So-
knew?
I needed more Dick Dastardly or any of the other characters, like the ones that have all the bats flying around.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
It's such a, because you go back and watch the cartoon, it's such a, I mean, there's not much of the cartoon either. It's just, but
no, it's just like they all find a way to blow themselves up every time, and
yeah, I mean, there's hardly any
and
of that in this. It's
Dick
just like a
Dastardly
weird-
never wins. That's all there is to it. And then this book opens with him winning the race. So,
This is part of that Apocalypse universe.
well, this week Josh suggested, and our friends over at Image, and what is it, Synergy? I think it's the imprint on their Image,
I don't know.
to check out the book called Moonshine and Bigfoot #1. This is, as far as we know, scheduled to come out April 23rd, but then we did not see. I don't know, I didn't see it on our folder. I don't know exactly if the date has changed or not, because
Coming out soon.
the comic we originally wanted to do did get delayed, so we'll probably do that one later on, which sucks because Earth Day is this upcoming week, and that's where they're
Right.
going to release it that day. If you haven't put it together, we were going to try to do Captain Planet #1 from Dynamite, but instead we pivoted to Moonshine Bigfoot #1. This is written by Mike Marlowe and Zach Howard, with art by Steve Ellis, colors by Nelson Daniel, and letters by Thompson Knox. And it follows the story of in Buzzard County in 1981. Moonshine Bigfoot spends his day making a living while outwitting clueless cops, reckless rivals, and buffoonish Bigfoot hunters. All this hunky-dory until he draws the attention of an Illuminati-esque cabal with his partner in life and crime, Amethyst. Our hairy hero is about to learn that some problems can't be handled by jumping them in a souped-up Mach 1. Look, I haven't watched a lot of Dukes of Hazzard, but I imagine this is the feeling that you would get watching, like reading this book.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
kind of the feeling that you would get watching that series.
Yes,
Oh, that
it
Bigfoot
is.
at it again.
It is straight up. Okay, the best way. First of all, I love this, and the best way I can describe it is Tank Girl in America, based on Dukes of Hazzard. because it also has like a really great Tank Girl feel to it as well, right?
Yep.
But
I want to know how many people under the age of 30 caught any of those references.
I know, right? I'm just making up words at this point.
I think Tank Girl, the movie is a kind of a cult classic. So hopefully a few more people than you think maybe caught on to that.
I hope so. But what I was not expecting, and it's funny, like I only saw the cover and the name of this when I threw it in our list to read. I had very low expectations, and by the end of page 2, I'm like, holy shit, this is great. I'm in. Like the idea of taking the Dukes of Hazzard and making it about a Bigfoot moonshine maker that again feels very Tank Girly, was just like how those elements are brought together and work is beautiful.
It helps keep them Southern in this kind of weird Southern kind of, trashiness kind of whatever.
Yeah.
But it takes out all the racism of the Dukes of Hazzard. Like it removes all of that. So it was very smart.
Even if it was subtle racism, yeah, right.
Yeah, it still has the nods of like, because you're still in the South and it's just kind of unavoidable.
Yeah.
But there's still those kind of echoes from like the television show that are there.
The narrator.
The narrator was
star it was Waylon Jennings.
I don't remember who it was.
Oh,
but like the cops, the kind of the Keystone-y cop kind of like sheriff and whatnot. And the fact that he's a moonshiner. But this was like at some point in the book, he goes to like a little hideout bar, and they're cameos, pop culture cameos galore. And I'm like, this is too much even for me. Like I'm just like I recognize some of these. Poor Big Bird. But some of those, I'm like, I feel like these are people I should maybe, I'm not understanding who these characters are and stuff.
There was Evel Knievel. I'm pretty sure I saw the Fall Guy in there. I could be wrong.
BJ and the Bear,
BJ and the Bear. Yeah, again, very, very 80s kind of.
Mac from Mac and Me, Mac Alien.
Oh, I missed Mac. Holy shit, that's hilarious.
There was just like there was a whole bunch of just weird random like whatever, but it's definitely one of those comics you can tell like the writer was like big into just like a bunch of just pop culture stuff thrown at him from like the 80s and stuff, because the main villain also kind of ends up looking sort of like Cobra Commander a little bit.
Like Cobra Commander,
So it goes a lot of different places.
It looked to me like the villain from Gotcha Man. I don't remember. I forget what they were called.
Right.
Which they're back, right? Like they're back in. I think Dynamite or Mad Cave has a
series, it was like a mashup between Cobra Commander and them. So
I will say, because Josh, I think when you proposed this, you were curious to think what I was gonna think of it, because a lot of all those cameos you guys mentioned, they definitely went in over my head. I was just like, oh, this is a really cool bar where there's a lot of different looking people, and that's why he likes to go there, because he doesn't stick out, right? He even mentions that. I like this book. I think it's a very well put together book. Like the story flows very nicely. I love the pacing because you're kind of like pedal to the metal from the get-go.
Right.
The art is very cool. I love the design of like a Bigfoot that is got this like, I don't know, couldn't care less attitude with the tank top and the sunglasses. All that being said, this is not up my alley, like as far as things that I would enjoy. So I don't think I'll continue to read this, but it was very interesting to catch all that and just see like, oh, this is how, even if I'm not familiar with all this stuff, like the book just works, right? The chase is interesting. There's so much cutting back and forth between like all the like the police and the hunters, and then just like this other individual that kind of comes back all at the end to tie the story up and really kick off. It feels like they really spent, like if there was a TV show, like they spent all the money on the pilot, and then we're gonna hopefully get picked up, and here we go, right? Because they threw everything. It feels like they really threw everything at this first issue.
Oh yeah.
I really like how casual the conversations with his girlfriend, where it's like, you know, like they're just talking about dinner all while trying to escape, and she's doing her nails on the car. But that felt very like the Tarantino movie that, what is it, Death Trap, Death Wish? No, Death Trap, I think it's called, where where they're in the car, the girls are in the car, and then that dude ends up chasing, the stunt driver's chasing them. So I was like, oh, this also has a little Grindhouse feel to it. So yeah, I thought it was fun to read, but I just don't see myself putting this closer to the top of the pile, and I feel like I might revisit this when it's done, especially if you guys say like, oh, I think it's really good, if you guys continue to read it. But I had a good time. I'm glad you picked it. It's so colorful too. Like,
oh, it is, yeah.
Oh my god, there's so much detail.
I did immediately. I read the preview copy and then opened up League and added it to my pull list. So I will definitely be buying it.
Yeah, whenever it does eventually come out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Nice.
Any last thoughts on Moonshine, Bigfoot, number one? Bigfoot.
It was great. I did like that because early on there's a moment where they make a big jump, as one does, a la Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah. And his girlfriend is painting her nails with her foot up on the hood, not the hood, the dashboard. And at first it's like, well, how is she doing that? And then he makes a comment about it, and I was like, all right, that's fine. They at least acknowledge it. So,
practice.
Yeah.
Practice. Cool. All right. Well, thanks. Yeah, if this sounds up your alley, like I feel like you should check it out for sure. If you like any of those things that Josh kind of mentioned, this book is feels like a hodgepodge of, like, just check it out. Or if I'm not familiar with anybody in the team really, like the creative team.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with any of those.
So yeah, we'll see. But okay. Well, thanks to Image and Synergy, I want to say, for letting us check this out. Syzygy Publishing. Yikes! Is that a word I should know?
I've never heard.
Let them know down in the comments. All right.